a bit hard noise here, but hopefully, you'll be able to hear me and the recording will go smoothly. If not, this is my sign to buy a microphone. This might be my sign to buy a microphone. Okay. So last night I was listening to a preaching, and the person who was preaching said something very particular that I haven't heard before. I've heard the importance of this that he said, but the extent he took it to was like, this is more important than prayer, this is more important than fasting, this is more important than exhibiting the power of God. And I'm like, what could this be? What could be more important than all these things? And when he said it, it was like, oh, of course. It really dawned on me, and I wanted to share it with you. He said the most important thing above prayer and fasting and anything you can think of, miracles and being on stage and like healing people and all that, God moving through you, the most important thing. And he even went on to say that we shouldn't even be teaching like how to speak to God, how to hear the voice of God. He said that the core of everything, it all came down to one thing. And this one thing is having a pure heart. I'm just going to let that sit with you for a second. Having a pure heart. People seek power over purity. These are my notes here. I was thinking of this. Yes, that's true. Having a pure heart is what God is pleasing to God. Having a pure heart is what pleases God. And when you have a pure heart, you have a heart like a child. And when you have a heart like a child, you have faith like a child. So it all comes down to that, to purifying your heart, to working towards your heart being pleasing to God, pure before God. People seek power over purity of heart. And so he went on to saying that, we see a lot of people on stage and the power of God moving through them, and then we see their lives, right? And maybe behind the stage, behind the scenes, they aren't living lives that are right before God, lives of righteousness, lives of justice, lives of love and compassion. And then we compare the two and we're like, oh, so I can have the power without, if they can do that, then I can do that. And what we focus on, and our focus and what we want and desire is the power rather than the relationship with God. We want to exhibit, I want to do miracles and do this and do that, but that is just from a place of ego. We want to be seen. And so when it comes to the heart, that is where the real work is to be done. And it made me think that it makes sense, because Jesus said that a lot of people in the last day would say to him, oh Jesus, we testified in your name, we casted out demons in your name, and we prayed over people and people were healed and delivered. And Jesus is gonna say, depart from me, I never knew you. And that, I would read it, and they would talk about that verse in church, but until now it makes sense. Yes, you can do all those things, and Jesus doesn't know you. You can know Jesus, and Jesus doesn't know you because you never had a relationship with him. And so you were an instrument. We are vessels, we are instruments, and you can be an instrument for his power and for his glory. But at the end of the day, like, the most important thing and what God is looking for is people whose hearts are pleasing and pure before him. And that just blew my mind completely. Let me see if I have more notes on this. I've been reading this book, and before I saw the preaching at night, I was reading this book earlier during the day, and they said something similar. The chapter I was reading was actually about being a friend of God, and how prophets, all friends of God are prophets. If you're a friend of God, you're a prophet, because if you're a friend of God, God will reveal to you his secrets. But not all prophets are friends of God. And so you should aspire more to be a friend of God rather than, what was that? You should aspire more to be a friend of God rather than to aspire to prophesy. Because when you're a friend of God, it goes back to the same thing. He even brought up the same verse. Jesus is going to say, yeah, you prophesied in my name, you casted out demons in my name, but I never knew you, because you never had a relationship with God. You just have a gift, and God gives gifts. And so when you're born, people are born with gifts, the gift of prophecy, the gift of words of wisdom, discernment. So those are gifts, but that doesn't mean that, people get confused and they're like, oh, God speaks to me, so, I must be good with God. We're Gucci, he's speaking to me, he's revealing things to me about people, about things to come. And that's not how it works. God does that because we are instruments, we are his vessels. And so he goes on to saying that the way to have that relationship with God and to be a friend of God, and he speaks of Moses and how Moses was a friend of God. He says that the way to be a friend of God is by fearing God. And when you fear God, fearing God is the one thing that makes you his friend. So when you fear God, fear of respect. It's not a fear like, oh, I don't want to get close to you. It's a fear that brings you closer to him. It's a fear of being away from God. It's a fear of being far from God. It's a fear of not doing the will of God, or hurting God, hurting his heart. He's so big, he's so amazing, he's so majestic, and it's that fear of letting such a huge person down. We're not perfect, obviously, and we let ourselves down, we let each other down, but it's more of like that respect, that awe, that realization that, oh my goodness, he's given everything for me. He's given everything for me. I need to obey him. I need to be obedient to him. He gave his life for me. I need to sacrifice my life for him. We die so Jesus can live through us. We die so Jesus can live in us. And he's quoting Bishop David Onimisi. When you fear God, you never mess with these three. And you never mess with one, God's gold, God's girls or guys, and God's glory. So what that means is you give God what is God's, the tithes, the offerings that, whatever God is asking you to give him, you don't mess with that. You give it to him. God's girls or guys, you don't mess with God's people. You don't mess with God's children. And God's glory. If he does something, you give him the glory. He used you, he used me, but we are vessels, we are instruments, and so we give him the glory. And we recognize and we let everybody know that it's not us, but it's God in us, God through us. At the end of the day, and this was said in the preaching last night, God can take away the power, the dunamis, the ability to do miracles, to heal, but at the end of the day, what we're going to have is our relationship with him. At the end of the day, what we're going to have is our relationship with him, our pure heart before him, our friendship with him. That is the most important thing. That is what you should hold on to. That is what we should hold on to. If we can only hold on to one thing, let it be having a pure heart before him. Let it be our relationship, our friendship with God.